Welcome everyone to this new session. And this has been great, guys. And I'm trust you're learning a lot. So today we're going to continue on our solution, which is the intermediate module. And you can see there's been a little bit more complexity that's expected as we go a little bit deeper into our knowledge. Okay, now day 16 we dealt with nested queries, and we can see we had about three sub queries within a particular query, right? And it might take time for you to get your head around it. So there's a new concept we're going to introduce today, which is CTE. Okay, and because it's the same type of solution, I won't go through this use case, but feel free to go through it during your own time. Okay, so let's quickly go to our solution here. Now, before we dive into solving this using the CTE concept. What is CTE for those that are just new to this platform? Okay, what is CTE or new to SQL? So CTE is common table expression and is a named reusable subquery that improves readability and organizes complex logic step by step. Some of the advantages include making complex queries easier to read, like for example day 16 it was a bit complex. By the time we are done here, you'll see that it's a bit easier to read. And second advantage, it brings logic into modules. Third advantage, you can reuse the same city multiple times. It's improved maintainability, and also it supports what we call the recursive query, which we'll go into in our subsequent session. Okay, now how does CTE works? Usually we start with a with keyword, and we're going to see that. So let's quickly dive into solving the same problem but using CTE. Okay, so we're going to need these guys here, and then let's copy that, and then we're going to start with width, and let's call this like a base object or base query. Let's call it base query. Okay, and then we'll say, and we can say as, just so that we are clear, as. So we are calling this query in here a name, and that's what we by is it usually has a name that we can reference. So we are calling it a name here. All right, so basically this is going to be our base, and because we are using a city, we're going to tweak our solution a little bit. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to pull all the solutions that we actually, or all the attribute we actually need from this particular query. Okay, so now let's quickly do that. So first of all, we will need our product. We will definitely need our product ID, and then we also need our product name. Okay, alright, so we call that product name. And what again do we need? We would also need a product category ID, because we need to perform some aggregation at the category ID level. Okay, and we don't necessarily need this guy. Okay, and then we also will need the order date, so we can say dot order date. Okay, and then we also will need the order quantity. I'm just going to copy what I have here and paste it right here, and then all right, and then we can comment this out. So at this point we're just pulling the all the attributes we need, so that we can then use this as our base query. Okay, so now I'm just going to delete this guy as well. So then let's access this query. So we're just going to do select all attribute from, and then we're going to call this base query. Okay, and then we just run that, so it should work. So now all the attributes that we probably will use in all of our calculation are represented here. All right, that's great. So now let's start with the first one. Let's call it category roll up as this. Okay, so for the category roll up, so what we're gonna do is that we need the revenue, we need the distinct count, and then we can also actually we just so we're just going to create as I wanted to copy the initial one we did day 16, but let's create our own afresh so it's clearer. So we're just going to say select from this base query. Okay, and what are we selecting essentially? So first of all, we need this product category because that's the granularity of this first one, product category. And also we need to do a count distinct product ID. Okay, and then we will call these we can call it product count in this case, or distinct product count, so we maintain the same name. Okay, with what we did on day 16. Okay, products, so distinct product, what did we call it the last time? Product sold. So let's say distinct product sold. Okay. All right, so now, okay, we just leave that, and then we'll do a sum. So basically we have sum order quantity. We can actually copy that somewhere here. Okay, we copy that so it limits the number of typing I have to do, so, and it also make it a little bit faster. Okay, we'll do order quantity multiplied by unit price. That's great. And then we call this what do we call it before? Revenue at cart level. So let's do the same thing. Okay, we call it revenue at cart level. That's it. That's it, guys. And then we'll say group by one, which is product category ID, and then we just reference this. Let's access this particular one that we just created. All right, let's access that. Okay, beautiful. We can see that's exactly what we want. And then we're going to create another CTE here. We call this cat average as, and then this is where we're gonna do the average revenue per product. So let's quickly do that. So we're gonna do I'm just gonna copy this. Okay, yes, so basically then we need to access again product category, yeah, and then we'll then just do revenue divided by distinct product sold, and when we will call that as, I want to maintain the same name, so I will just copy the name I had on day 16. All right, so we're just gonna paste that somewhere here. Beautiful, guys. And then we just call this cat average so we can access that and see what that looks like. Beautiful, beautiful, guys. And so we are almost getting there. Okay, the next thing that we need to do here is also to look for the product roll up. Okay, and then yeah, we would basically we can copy exactly what we have here. It's very similar. And so what we're gonna do here, instead of this, we're just gonna change this to product ID, and what we need is the revenue. Okay, and one thing also we want to do is that we also want to bring in that average revenue at the cart level. So let's do a left join, outer join, and then we'll say cart average. Okay, left to cat average, and then we can say on cat average dot product category ID, because we need to be able to access this. Okay, so we need to join at this point so it's easier for us. And then we'll say base query dot product category ID. You can see, and then with that we can then say we can pull this guy using the cat average. Okay, cat average dot this, and then that should work. So let's try this. But we need to, okay, just give me 1 second. We also need to pull the product name as well. Product name, and then we will group by 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And so let's run that. It should work. See, okay, we're getting this error. So apparently we didn't put as here. That's why we're getting that error. So let's put as. Beautiful, is working as expected. So this is exactly what we're expecting. But guys, don't let us forget, we still need to have the clause here saying if where to have the where clause, right? Saying where this guy, right? Sorry, this is supposed to be at the product level. Yeah, I should change the name here to product level, at product level. Okay, so this one where this guy is greater than the one at the cat level. Okay, and then when we run this, we should give us exactly. So we just order to make sure that our answer is exactly what we had on day 16. So we're just gonna say order by 1, and we can see that's exactly what we had in day 16. Okay, and you can see 89, 75. We go back here, 89, 75. Guys, that's exactly it, right? And that you can see how we kind of walk through. First of all, we have the base query, we have the cat roller, we have the cat average, we have the product roller. See, it's maintainable. If somebody look at this query, it's easy for them to read compared to where we had this nested query. But it's good to note both options, because there might be cases where it makes sense to use nested query. There might be cases where, most cases where it makes sense to use the CTE. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. And I did myself, and I want to say thank you so much for watching and listening. And I will see you in the next session.